Next up on my list is Mr. Purvis. I like the Cam Newton, Des Bryant keepers. Those are both, stud guys. Cam's expected to be a top 5 quarterback this year. He was last year and wasn't. He played well down the stretch, so hopefully that continues over. MJD is the first pick. Injury-prone guy, but you got to remember it's a third round, and there wasn't a lot of running backs out there. So I do like that pick. I think he is pretty solid player as far as everything else goes. The one thing that I would have questioned you on is maybe Darren Sproles. And I say that because Darren Sproles has had 86 catches and then 75 catches the last 2 years as a running back. He's had 7 touchdowns receiving both years, and he's ran for another. I think last year he had a little bit less, only about 400 yards, but 600 yards the year before, and more touchdowns there. So he's a guaranteed 1,000-yard back, but you're getting a wide receiver number of catches out of him. On top of that, you got the return yards for him as well. In a PPR, he's a top 10 running back, and I think that the risk there is a lot less than MJD. Now, MJD, once again, he catches 50 balls in his own right, but he's coming off a foot injury, hasn't played yet this year. A lot of question marks with him coming into him being over 30 years old and playing in a lot less of a strong offense. I mean, if you got to trust Blaine Gabbert to run your offense, you're probably going to have a rough year. On top of that, though, I like the Lamar Miller pick because you got him late. I'm not really that high on him as a lot of people seem to be this year, but I think that he's still going to do well for us. I think that the Dolphins don't have much of a running back situation anyway, and he'll catch some passes and do all that. So he's going to be kind of a pretty strong guy outside of your MJD and Frank Gore picks. Des Bryant is a solid 5 wide receiver. He's going to catch a lot of balls from Tony Romo. Antonio Brown had a down year last year with a little bit of injuries and whatnot, but I think he could be another really good pick this year. And Deshaun Jackson, is basically their number 1 target right now because Macklin went down. So I like where you got Jackson too. I think you got him a lot later than people would, especially for being a number 1 wide receiver. It all depends on that Chip Kelly offense. We got to see how that works out. Jared Cook, heard a lot of good things about him this year. Every year we hear a lot of good things about him. He's been in Jeff Fisher's offense before and hasn't done anything, so it's going to be curious to see how he does now. I like the Russell Wilson backup pick just in case Cam Newton goes down. When you got a runner, you need to have a backup that's strong. Michael Floyd is another great guy I think that is going to have a breakout year this year. It all depends on that O-line of the Cardinals, though, so we'll see how that works out. And once again, Jacquizz Rodgers, not that valuable in other leagues. In a PPR, he's a top 25 back. So where you got him, I think, is really good too. The team's great. I mean, like I said, every team this year drafted, this is probably the best we've all drafted in a long time because I think there's a lot of depth at wide receiver. There's some question marks at running backs, but everybody kind of pulled the trigger on running backs early and then filled in with wide receivers that they feel are going to be strong this year. So I'm going to give you a B on this one with B+ potential. It all depends on Cam Newton's shoulders. Like I said, with him being able to run, that is so valuable for your team. But last year he started out so bad that you have to hope that he doesn't repeat this year.